Well, welcome back. Today, I want to share another resource with you that might help you obtain a discharge paper or learn just a tiny bit more about military service and maybe more about your veteran's family. Okay. And we're going to talk about the Veterans Compensation File. It also could be known as a bonus application. So after World War I, a bonus payment for service was awarded to those who served and those who died. If the veteran survived the war and he was still alive around 1923 when this was enacted, he would have been able to apply for a small payment for his service. If the service member had died, like my great granduncle Michael Kokoska, his beneficiary or his mother, because he was not married, would have been able, and she did, apply for his bonus payment. Those applications are held within the state archives, and not every state participated in this program. Now, for World War II, Ancestry has digitized Iowa's two-page application and Pennsylvania's application, but I don't think it's the full application because I don't see any discharge papers with these applications. You get the two-page application and you might get some other pages, affidavits, maybe a letter from the veteran following up and other things within that application packet. But I haven't seen discharge papers. And they had to prove service, so there should be a discharge paper there. Now, maybe different states ran it different ways, but I know for sure in Illinois, the discharge paper is supposed to be with that application for World War II. So these files exist at least in Iowa, Illinois, Pennsylvania, and New York. They may exist in other states. So you just have to contact your state archives, go look at their finding aids, and see what information they have. Even if you do, as I said, as you find these on Ancestry, write to the state archives and request the whole file. Now, in Illinois, the World War II applications were released in 2023. And it depends on which archivist fills the request, whether or not you get the discharge paper if they survived the war. So I always, in any request, specifically say I want the entire application and the discharge paper. Okay. Because that discharge paper, as you know, contains a lot of really great service puzzle pieces that you can put into your timeline of service to help advance your research forward. So let's take a look at what some of these applications look like. All right. If you are looking at Pennsylvania and you're on Ancestry.com, they are called the Veterans Compensation Application Files. For Iowa, they're called the World War II Bonus Case Files. So again, typically they're called one of these two things, and you just have to look at the archives and see what they're calling them. Now, as I mentioned, Iowa only digitized the application, the two-page application. And apparently they've changed something on their website because now it seems to be one giant image and the second page is upside down. I don't know why that is, but apparently that's what it is right now. With Pennsylvania, they have a very similar application. And what you're going to get out of Pennsylvania is more than the two-page application, at least on Ancestry. And again, contact them to see if there's anything else that they did not digitize, like the discharge. So you're going to get the veteran's name, where they live, their date and place of birth. You're going to have the dates that they went overseas, and you're going to get service numbers. Where did they enter service? A lot of really great information to add to your timeline of service. However, there is some misinformation circulating with some researchers online and just in general that this application will replace the service file, and it does not. You will have a few puzzle pieces, but it does not replace or give you any information anywhere near what's in that service file. So enlistment, discharge dates, all of that information. For some people who were an officer, let's go back just a little bit. You will also, hopefully, have an enlisted man's service number, which they have scratched out here. Now, maybe they did that because the final service number was an officer's number, but you still need that enlisted number to do research. So When somebody was an enlisted man and they were promoted to an officer, they were discharged as the enlisted man and that service number. Then that day or the next day, they were re-enlisted as an officer with a new number. Now, when you are looking at Army and Army Air Force and you're searching Army morning reports, you need both service numbers, because if you only search by the officer number, you're not going to capture all of the documents and the movements, units, training, and all of that information for when he was an enlisted man. Now, if you search by his name, it's possible you're going to pick more of that up. But NARA catalog is so wonky that anytime I teach it, I tell people you have to search every single way that you can think about. And actually, I now, in my online research toolkit on my Ancestral Souls Wisdom School store, I just added another PDF to that toolkit that gives you so many different ways to search the catalog. So I'll put a link to my store in the description if you're interested. But you want to search by both service numbers, okay? That is really, really important. Now, within these files that are on Ancestry for Pennsylvania, again, you're going to get the 2-page service file. You're going to get some family information, which can be very helpful. You'll get maybe some affidavits, some other details about service, mostly dates of enlistment, discharge, that kind of thing, and then maybe just letters from the veteran following up. Okay? All of this is very helpful. And again, you can put it into your timeline of service so that you know more about where somebody was, when they went in, when they went overseas, when they came back, all of that. And you keep building from there. Now let's take a look at a World War II application packet from Illinois. Now, again, these were on microfilm. For most of the states, they are on microfilm, and that microfilm might not be the best, okay? Or the copy of the discharge that was brought in might not be the best. So it can be very difficult to make out what is on here. However, you still can read the majority of the information. This might be the one place that you are able to find a discharge paper. Now, in the state of Illinois, again, it depended on in 2023 who was fulfilling your request. But for about half of the requests I made, the service number was not scribbled out. For some of the requests I made, the archivist scribbled it out before they gave it to me. And when I asked about that, they said, well, we follow what the National Personnel Record Center does, which isn't really true, because St. Louis, as long as it's been beyond the 62-year rule, they don't go through and redact the service number. So I don't know what's going on down in Springfield, Illinois, but just be aware that archivists will often do things that just don't make sense. So make sure that you have the right service number when you make that request. But this file is only 6 pages long. It contains the discharge paper. It has the 2-page application, gives as much information as he can. It is a different application than what you see for Pennsylvania. There is information about the payment that he received, some information about tax form, and some other things. Okay. So again, if you are interested in seeing if your state has these, contact the state archives and inquire. You can do a search on their catalog to see what's in their holdings. Try bonus application, try bonus payment, try veterans compensation, and see what comes up. And when in doubt, just send an email and say, this is what I'm looking for. Did the state participate in this at all? Again, it's not going to replace the service file, but if you can get a discharge paper or maybe more family information for your genealogy, or just a few more things to put on your timeline of service, it's all worth it. If you have any questions, let me know. And this is just one of those records that I talk about in many of the classes that I teach. So if you'd like to know the 2-part research strategy to research any veteran, World War I to Vietnam, even if the record's burned, click on the link on my store and explore what's on tap for the coming months. All right. Have a great day.